The coronavirus pandemic has caused millions of Americans to lose their jobs. Millions more are facing food insecurity for the first time in their lives. And now many families are spending the Thanksgiving holiday apart to avoid health risks. Our next guest has been helping people persevere through what has been trying times for many. Reverend William Barber is the co-chair of the Poor People's Campaign. He's also the president and senior lecturer of the Repairers of the Breach. Reverend Barber, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. You know, Americans are lining up in historic numbers at food banks across the country this week as we go into Thanksgiving. A new Feeding America report shows 40% of those seeking food donations are doing so for the first time in their lives. How is the Poor People's Campaign dealing with this unprecedented hunger crisis?
Well, thank you so much. And this indeed is a travesty. You know, I come from a faith tradition that says that moral policies that treat the poor right and the low wealth is actually good economic policies. Before COVID, we had 140 million people in poverty and low wealth, and we had a hunger crisis. Now we have a hunger catastrophe. Nearly 100 million people are food insecure, and this does not have to be. 1 out of 4 people who are unemployed are either unemployed or working for poverty wages. And what the Poor People's Campaign first is calling it what it is. It is crimes against nature by McConnell and Trump and their cohorts who are refusing to address these issues. A crime against humanity. But the next thing is we're saying there must be everybody should be having food stamps that need them. We should be opening up and putting more money in food banks and our storages of food all around this country. We have food stored up everywhere. This should not be in the wealthiest nation in the world, and it doesn't have to be. What the problem is we have people who have food insecurity, and we have too many people who do not have the moral wherewithal to do the right thing. They're going home and eating with their family and leaving people starving and craving for food. And the Poor People's Campaign is saying this is wrong, and we're pushing for more food to be opened up, food stamps to be given, and for more of the stockpiles to be opened up so that people can eat, people can live, people can survive.
Well, you know, for our viewers who are sitting here listening to you speak and they want to do something, they want to help, where would you recommend them go?
Well, I would recommend them go to the poorpeoplescampaign.org. We have a major petition we're pushing now. We had a major caravan in 25 states this past Monday called Remembering Those Who Are Dead and Fighting in Their Name, of caravans of mourning. And we have a petition going to all of our Congress people, pushing them. So go to poorpeoplescampaign.org and join that, because we have to have a transformation in this country. We need a major COVID-19 comprehensive just relief, and it must ensure that people have treatment and testing and PPE protection free, regardless of their race, creed, color, sexuality, income, and ability to pay. We need health care, expanding Medicaid expansion, but we also need health care for all and protection from pre-existing conditions. We have to stop these rent evictions and more, and people being put out of their homes. 30 million people are facing evictions. We could have a freeze on all of that. And we need to fight for $15 a living wage. Too many people before COVID were working for poverty wages, which meant that COVID hit them harder. And the people being hit the most are those who are in face-to-face jobs. And we know this, and we know how to fix it. And the federal government has the power to fix it. We gave 84% of the first money to corporations and banks. We given trillions of dollars to corporations, but we did not give the money to the poor and low wealth and working people who need it, who make this country run. We call them persons that we say are essential, but we're treating them like they're expendable. And we have to stand against this. Push now and push the new administration to work on these immediately in the first few days of a new administration.
Right. I was going to say some of the things that you mentioned are some issues that President-elect Biden has said that he would like to push forward in the new administration. I want to ask you, Reverend, about the fact that many people have also been spending an unprecedented amount of time in isolation this year. Some will also be spending the holidays alone. What can people do to cope? How have you been encouraging people to remain hopeful during such dark times?
Well, several things. The Pope talked about this. This is an encyclical, this whole issue of loneliness, and loneliness is real. As I said, there were people who were facing it before COVID. It's gotten worse since COVID. But one of the things you do is you join a movement that's fighting back, that's not accepting things the way they are. Study after study says over 200,000 people didn't have to die. Well, in their names, we need to stand up. And when you stand up in a movement, it keeps you from feeling like you're in it by yourself. So join a movement. And then we need to use all the tools of social media to connect with one another in this season. But also we need to look at what is happening. What keeps me hopeful is how people are willing to put on their mask and risk their lives literally to vote to change the direction of this country. 55% of poor and low-wealth people voted for the Biden-Harris ticket and said, we're not going to take this anymore. And they did what they had to do. And that should give people a lot of hope that change is on the way, change is coming. We are not just people who are acted upon. We can, in fact, act, and we can stay together. We say something like forward together, not one step back is the mantra in our movement. We have to care for one another. And then lastly, part of the things that I'm doing is not just reading where we are now, but reading the story and the history of those who faced hard times before, whether it be slavery, whether it be what women faced, whether it be how people faced the pandemic in the 1918, in those days, and learning from their stories and almost like bringing them to life. So in my place of quietness, I'm spending time with a Frederick Douglass and time with a Harriet Tubman and time with a Martin Luther King and a Rosa Parks and Dorothy Day. Actually spending time with them in the moment of loneliness actually gives life to that moment, because it's something about what my faith calls the great cloud of witnesses that surround us, people that have died before us, but they still, in a spiritual way, inspire us to keep moving on and to keep standing for what's right. And most of all, let's love one another. Let's love one another, speak truth to one another, and in every way we can, even if it's virtual, let's hug one another and hold on to one another and know that together, not separate, together, we will make it through these days.
The cloud of witnesses. That's a beautiful image. Well, thank you, Reverend William Barber, for joining us. We really appreciate it, and have a wonderful Thanksgiving.
God bless you. Thank you.